Great grand rising. Come on in, guys. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Happy Passover. Come on in, take a moment, tag your friends, tag your family members. Let them know Spiritual Success TV is live. And we're going to jump right in on this beautiful Resurrection Sunday. All right. So today, to tie in with this whole theme of resurrection, we are talking about awakening is resurrection, right? Resurrection is an awakening moment, but it is awakening from within, and we want to hone that power. Many people are awakening, but this is the key today, beloved. But not everyone is embodying what they have awakened to. Can you breathe that in and exhale? All right, beloved. So, my objective today is to anchor this in that many people have awakened, right? But you are not yet living or embodying the truth that you have awakened to. I remember there was a time I probably was about 25 or 26 years old, and I had my second child, my son. And I remember one day I was in the bathtub just soaking and bathing, and I said to myself, I believe God all the way down to my toes. I believe God. I said, this faith needs to be tested. We say things and we don't even know what we're saying. But at that moment, beloved, I was so sure in my faith. I was so sure that I believed. I was so sure that I know that I know that I know, right? A few days later, my son got an abscess on his neck. And where the abscess was, it was sitting right on the jugular vein. And so I was watching it, nurturing it. And then one day, there was a little pinhole and it started to leak. So I said, okay, I'm going to take it because it was a nice size abscess. So, okay, I'm going to take him to the emergency room so they can lance it and drain it. Fine, just a little 1, 2, 3, and it'll all be over, right? Excuse me. Well, what happened is when I went to the emergency room, they said because of the position where it was sitting right on the jugular vein, and he was like 2 years old maybe, they didn't want to take a chance of him moving while they had the scalpel and the instruments. They said they had to put him to sleep and take him into surgery. Beloved, all that faith that I had, that I was so sure that I knew, I was a nervous wreck. Do you hear me? I was an absolute, utter, complete wreck. So much so, I became aware when he was in surgery, I was just a bundle of nerves from my head to my toes. And so when they came out, the doctors came out and said that he was fine, he was awake. Do you know what my response was? He is. He is. I did not even have enough faith to believe that he would come out of the surgery safe. Well, I was very young back then. And back then is when I realized, and I said to myself, what happened to all that faith you had a few days ago, where you just knew that you knew that you knew? Well, that is the difference between awareness. When you're aware, I was aware of my faith. Understanding, I understood that faith is believing. Even though you don't see it, I understood that on a psychological level. But deep down in my heart, I didn't have the knowing, watch this, where I could live that out. And that is what embodiment is. So when we talk today about awakening, is a moment of resurrection, is your awakening moment. But we must move from simply awakening, knowing, having awareness, even understanding it, and then shifting into embodiment. And embodiment equals living. Can you put that in your notes? Embodiment equals living what you know. So back to my opening statement. Many people are awakening. They are aware that they're awake. They understand that they're awake. They understand faith, what it means to have faith in a higher power, God, whatever works for you. But they're not living from that truth that they have awakened to. I want you to breathe again, right? So what we want to do today is we want to begin to bridge the gap between understanding and knowing, or embodiment, which means that you are actually living this resurrection power. Again, back to my story. When there was no challenge, I was so sure. I was so certain of my faith. But when the challenge came, I shattered into 1,000 pieces, right? I learned a valuable lesson then. And I asked myself the question way back then, if I knew the truth, why couldn't I live out that truth and stand on that truth in the face of trouble, in the face of and that was a major challenge. Your child being sick, your child going through surgery, right? So I've learned way back then, again, I was about 25, maybe 26 years old. I learned way back then, I had to bridge that gap between what I was aware of, Great Grand Rising Reese, what I was aware of, and what I was able to live out. Now, this is big, beloved. This is huge. I cannot stress this enough. As we are celebrating the power of resurrection, and we're in this resurrection moment, we want to shift that into an embodiment, shift it into a living, so that we know that we know that we know that we are getting maximum benefit, right? Excuse me, that we're getting maximum benefit from our faith. So how do you begin to bridge that gap? Because again, insight alone will not transform your life. Please put that in your notes. Insight alone will not transform your life. Why? Because your nervous system and pattern returning to familiar identity will take us out every time. Now, I want to take my time right here, because I'm finding, even after all these years of working and being experienced with personal and spiritual development and managing my nervous system, I still find that there's always going to be a part of you that wants to return to a familiar identity. Return to what feels comfortable to you, right? But we want to learn how to shift from having spiritual highs. Watch this. This feels good, like I was in the beginning. I know that I know that I know. I know down to my toes that I have faith in God, right? Spiritual high. I was high a few days before I had to go to the emergency room with my son. But we want to learn how to shift now from spiritual highs into grounded embodiment. Please put that in your notes. Can you feel what I'm saying today? Grounded embodiment, meaning that you are standing 10 toes down. You are flat on your feet. You are anchored. You are grounded. And even when adversity and challenge comes in, you can reach in and resurrect your power, right? You can reach into that groundedness and know that everything that we need to shift is within. So here's what I want you to remember. You don't become truth. You don't become your truth when you feel it. You don't become your truth when you feel it. You become it when you live from it. This is so key, beloved. I'm telling you, if you allow your spirit to catch this and then consciously work it, that you don't become your truth when you feel it. like I was in that bathtub that day. I felt the truth. I felt my conviction. But when it came time to live from that, I was a ball of nerves, a bundle of nerves. I doubted. So much so that when they told me my son was awake, I said, he is. I did not believe. Sort of like, who was it? Was it wrote in the book of Acts that when they were all in there praying because Peter had gotten arrested, if my memory serves me right, and they heard the knock on the door and they were saying, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But Rhoda went to the door because she knew the power of God to deliver, right? So when we start talking about embodying truth, I want you to really get this. It's about being anchored. It's not about how you feel. It's about having a knowing deep down within, even in the face of adversity, that you are embodying and embracing your God self. And remember, your God self, your higher self, Holy Spirit, God within, whatever language works, right? When you live from your God self, the God self is a way of being, not a concept. Write that down. Your God self is a way of being, not a concept. Your daily decisions, please write this down, because these are little clues that's going to help you navigate properly. Your daily decisions reveal your identity. It reveals who you are in the moment. So remember my saying, your success or your failure is hidden in your daily routines. What you decide to do every day, the choices you make, that will reveal your identity. And then your identity gets reinforced by the choices you make, the choices you live by every day. So this is not about perfection. Please don't get me wrong, because you all know, that's a trap within itself. This is not about perfection. This is about practice, being present every day. Some days will be better than others. You all know this. Some days you'll hit the mark. Some days you'll miss the mark. But there's a beauty in being able to return again, again, and again. Because as we are celebrating this Resurrection Sunday and understanding that resurrection is about awakening from within, I think it was the writer of one of Paul's letters that said, if Christ be not risen, then we are above all men most miserable. Now, in our religious days in the church, we always just took that literally. And that has its merit, it has its place, right? If the entity, the deity that we know as Jesus the Christ, that incarnated in flesh, as the Christian and other religions teach, believed that he incarnated in flesh and lived among us, was crucified, buried, and resurrected, right? Or entombed and resurrected. Then if that didn't happen, we are above all men most miserable, because that is the hinge-pin of the Christian faith. But there's a deeper truth, a deeper application that we have to live by, that if there is no resurrection of your God self, if you don't move from your shadow self into allowing your God self to resurrect, then we are among men most miserable. Because that means that we'll be trapped in the matrix chasing everything other than what we are here for. So your inner world becomes what? Your source of direction. It becomes your compass. It tells you how to point north when you're tapped into the heart, right? So your inner world becomes your source of direction. Watch this, you know this. Your outer world becomes your feedback about what state you're in, what identity you're living out of, right? So many of us can look around right now at areas of our life that we're getting feedback that's saying, you know what? you're living in fear. You're living in survival mode. You believe in lack. You believe in struggle. All of us have an area that we are getting feedback from the universe about where we are. So what you repeatedly return to internally, not externally, internally becomes reality. That's another place to put notes. What you repeatedly return to internally becomes reality. Now, that can be fear, it can be faith, right? It could be power, it could be poverty. Whatever you return to repeatedly is going to become your reality. So then, this inner life, when we turn in and we tap in, it's not an escape. And we could easily turn it into a place of escape, but it is your command center. I want you to take a moment and breathe that in. Come on. And just see this rich inner life as your command center. And that's powerful. And when you learn to return there repeatedly, again and again, something powerful begins to happen. So you start living from infinite potential. I want us to breathe and land here because we're shifting today. We're going to start living from infinite potential within, making different choices over and over again. Potential now will become real through aligned action. Potential will become real through aligned action. Inspired action versus reaction. We talked about that. Trust in your divine insight, divine intelligence, the Almighty, the Creator God from within. Trust in that as you are in motion. Now that'll preach all by itself. Trust in that as you are in motion. So we have to be consciously aware every single day of what's happening. And you begin to ask yourself a question. Where do I know the truth, but still hesitate to live it? Beloved, I'm telling you, if you take this question and you allow your spirit to start fleshing this out and peeling back layers, you're going to come into some real power. Where do I know the truth, but still hesitate to live it? And you know, sacred texts tell us you'll know the truth and the truth shall make you free, right? So we can be set free, but not walking in that freedom that's available. Where do I know the truth, but still hesitate to live it? Then let's say it's in the area of finance. Where do I know the truth? Okay, I know the truth is that there is no lack. There's only abundance. There's not a shortage of money anywhere, right? This universe is full, and all I have to do is ask. And when I believe it's mine, I'll have it. All right, I know that truth. Same way with me back in the bathtub, right? But now when you're challenged with bills stacking up, negative balances in your checking account, zero savings, right? Hours cut back at work, rising inflation prices, then you're not living from the truth, you're shrinking. You start becoming so consciously aware of all the external factors that you start shrinking into fear of lack, scarcity. And you start having faith in that. But now this is the next part of the question, the B part of the question. Where do I know the truth but still hesitate to live it when it comes to money, finance, right? Then you ask the next layer of questions, because when we start looking at what and why, we go down 7 levels. What would it look like to move from my God self in this area, all right? So what would it look like If I decided to move and take action from my God self when it comes to money versus everything that's being anchored in the 3D realm, what would it look like? It looks like you would be thankful for every bill that comes, and every time you pay a bill, you relax and say, money returns to me multiplied. There is no lack, there's only abundance, right? What would your life look like? What is one decision I can make right now that will shift my life today to alignment instead of habit? This right here. I'm going to say this all in one segment so I can make a little short out of this. Where do I know the truth, but still hesitate to live it? What would it look like to move from my God self in that area? And then what is one decision I can shift today from alignment instead of doubt? What shift? What one thing can I do that would shift me from habit to alignment? And you rest in that. And here's a declaration. I live, not I understand, not I'm aware of, I live from the truth I know. That right there will have our lives so powerful, so beautiful as we breathe. You know, before I came on today, a song that my mother or one of my sisters wrote way back in the 80s. And I was just walking around humming and singing it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do a little grace today and share it, right? Some of y'all might remember this. Let me just check and see. Great Grand Rising, thanks for joining us live, right? I don't know if you'll remember this. Those are the family members that was here. But it was He Lives. And it says, why should I worry? He lives. Why should I dread? He lives. I know that He rose from the grave one day. Great is His power. He lives. Oh, He lives. He lives. I thank God Almighty, my Savior lives. Why should I worry? He lives. Why should I dread? He lives. This is the part I love. And the earth still hangs by nothing in space. Great is His power. He lives. All right, I thought I would give us that today. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Happy Passover. We're sowing seed today. And yes, this is all the ways that you can sow. Come on, we're going to use the number 5 today and the number 1. So let's sow a $15 seed, a $51 seed, a $515 seed, whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. Get in where you fit in. This is all the ways that you could sow. And I'm taking that down so that, taking that down. Don't want it up too long. All right, lovelies. Enjoy this Resurrection Sunday with your friends, your family members. And I pray that you have taken some copious notes. And then I'm going to offer you guys the notes to these sessions so that you can have them. I just need a minute to set it up. All right, lovelies, have a blessed, wonderful, and amazing rest of your day. Bye for now.